So, hi everyone, this is Ray of the Fashion Pulpit, and welcome to another episode of The Power of Swapping, where we talk about, of course, clothes swapping, the secondhand culture, and anything about sustainability. And for today's episode, we're bringing you all the way to Melbourne, Australia, to talk to Lanaya, who is the founder of SwapAPorter. Lanaya, thank you so much for your time and being with us today.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for the introduction. Actually, I'm Brazilian. I have been in Australia for 3 years, and it
Wow.
tells a little bit about my personality. I'm very adventurous. I love traveling, explore other places, and yeah, I
Mhm.
came to Australia looking for a new challenge.
Nice. Where were you before Australia?
I was in Africa, in Angola.
Oh my God. Okay. What were you doing in Angola? And for how
I
long you were there?
I was a clothing shop manager there for 4 years. I have a fashion background. I'm a fashion designer, but I haven't ever worked as a designer.
Hmm.
So I spent 4 years in Angola, and when things got really steady, challenges, so I just felt like I need to look
A
for
new
something.
challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. And why Australia though? Like of all other countries?
Because I wanted to learn English. I couldn't speak English at all before coming to Australia.
Nice. So coming from a fashion background, were you always been into the environment or sustainability before?
No,
No.
not
Wow.
really.
Okay. Okay. So this is a great opportunity for us to unpack your journey of how you came about Swap a Porter and what made you decide to do a clothes swap. It's a mobile app.
Yeah, it is. It's a mobile app that will allow people to exchange through matches. It will be a kind of Tinder for clothes.
Hmm. Yeah. So
So yeah,
how did it started? I'm interested to know.
how did the idea came about?
Yes.
So my sustainable journey started in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
When I came here, I arrived with only a suitcase full of winter clothes. And because I didn't speak English, I took 4 months to get my first job. And then the summer came, and I didn't have a summer wardrobe.
Yes. Okay.
And I couldn't afford to buy an entire wardrobe
Right.
because I didn't have a job. So my friend of mine told me, go to the charity bin in our building basement and you'll find some donations. Like people just put clothes there for donation and you can get them. And I wasn't expecting to find like good things, because in
Right.
my country, in Brazil, when we talk about second hand, it has that negative stigma.
Right. Right.
And I wasn't expecting to find what I found, and I found really good clothes, and I was like, what the hell, what's happening here? Why people are throwing these clothes away? Like, they are so good, they still in trend, like what's going on? And I was happy, but at the same time I was sad, because as a fashion designer, like with this background, I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, so that's why designers work. We study,
Mm.
we work, and people like work so hard to make those clothes, and then people, they just dump them like this. And I got interested. I researched about secondhand. I started going to op shops here in Australia, and it's very popular here. And yeah, I decided, so why not? I will only buy secondhand from now on, because there are so many clothes in the world. And I
Right.
was researching and reading more and digging deeper. And I watched a series called War on Waste. And the guy was saying, every 10 minutes, 6 tons of textile go to landfill in Australia alone. And I was like,
Mm.
no way. It needs to stop. This is unacceptable. And back that time I was studying business at school. And my teacher said, we are going to look to work on a project that is a problem that you want to solve. And you work on this project for the entire year. And the problem that I wanted to solve was fashion overconsumption, fashion waste.
Right.
And the ideas like were so crazy. She was like, there is no crazy idea, just put them on paper. What would be the solutions for this problem that you think? And I thought about a recycling facility. I even calculate costs, but it would be like way too high and unfeasible. So I came about with a marketplace for secondhand. And with this idea, I entered to an accelerator program. And in this program, they were challenging my idea. They were like, but why your marketplace is different from eBay, from Facebook Marketplace? What is bringing, what's new? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop. And at the meantime, I was going to clothing swaps here in Australia because there are the swap parties. And one night I was just in my bed and I was like, why people, they don't swap online? Because the swap parties are so cool and they should be like available anytime. I wanted to go to swap anytime because it's amazing. You pay a little bit of money and you can get whatever you want. And yeah, I thought maybe I should do something about swaps, not about selling.
Right.
And that's how the idea came up. Yeah.
Wow, that's just like your aha moment in your bed.
yeah, it was in my bed.
Cool. So how did you start your mobile app when firstly there's no one was doing it in Australia? It was all physical event. And how did you translated the physical experience to an online experience that people understand the concept and they straight away get the value that they're getting in? Because if they have not experienced, like it's always been our experience, it's hard for us to translate the physical experience to online, that everyone is having a challenge to really grasp the idea of why they swap and they need to pay. So how did you address that?
Yes, this is another challenge because the swap parties, they work in a way and the swap on the app needs to work in another way, because in a physical party, you can actually see the clothes,
Right.
touch it. But on the app, it's difficult to tell and also to make sure you are going to get the clothes. So
Right.
how do you make sure like that you are giving something and you are getting something with is the same value for you? That's why I thought that the matching would be perfect, because you only get if you want. Like you are not giving your clothes away and then coming back with something that you don't really like, because
Right.
sometimes it happens in swap parties. And this was one of the problems that I identified. Some people were giving like really good clothes, and when they got there, oh, this is not what I was expecting.
Right.
And then in this situation that you do peer-to-peer, you only swap if you really want and if you like it, because the idea is to make people meet, and then they can actually see the clothes when they meet, and they can even cancel the swap or not. Like it's up to them. It's all up to them. But the app doesn't exist yet. It's in development. And I do this on Instagram.
Right. How has it been? Is it because on Instagram it's a bit manual in terms of like how you're doing it? How has it been? Like,
it's super hard for me. I'm not getting any money, like, because the idea is to make the app for free and then introduce premium features so that people, they would pay a subscription later.
Right.
But on Instagram, I don't charge anything. And I do everything like manually. They need to send me the photos with a description. I prepare the stories and I post on Insta stories, and they last for 24 hours. So because it's an event, people, they feel like forced to submit the items in a deadline. And then I get a bunch of people swapping together online.
Right. Cool.
This is how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also now it kind of magnifies the need for everyone to have also a presence online because of the pandemic. Has it helped you, or did it create another challenge for you to solve?
It helped because people were like much more online than now that things are opening up. And the op shops were also closed. So people, they were missing thrifting, they were missing donating their clothes. That was a problem for them as well. And I think it was a good opportunity. But the disadvantage was that I couldn't test the meeting process. So they were shipping the clothes all the way. But it was so good to test that people are willing to spend some money in swapping, because I wasn't charging anything for my service, but they were still paying shipping. So it's something that
taking a step back from your experiences. A while ago, you were mentioning that in Brazil, where you grew up, secondhand has a lot of negative stigma. So were in Brazil, were you doing secondhand shopping, or it was only in Australia that opened like a whole new world of how you can acquire clothes?
Yeah, it was only in Australia. But I consumed secondhand in my country because I don't come from a privileged background, you know, and my friends were passing down clothes to me.
Right.
In Brazil, it's very common. You pass down clothes to your friends, to your family, but you don't resell it. People, they wouldn't buy.
Ah, interesting. So are there thrift shops in Brazil?
Yes, they are, but they are not like in Australia. The ones that are in Brazil, they are kind of, we call brechós. They are like very high end clothes, you know, or vintage, very expensive. So when we think about vintage in Brazil, we think, oh, it's something that it's old, expensive, better to buy a new one.
Right. Yeah, I think that's always been like a challenge, especially now that fashion is very affordable and accessible. So they don't see the value of buying secondhand when the same amount of money or even cheaper you can get a brand new clothes.
Yeah.
How did you deal with the idea of like what are the negative stigma, by the way, in Brazil towards secondhand?
I would say that all the clothes would be like in bad conditions. You know, some people. I have a friend who said that I don't like buying secondhand because it might belong to someone who dead. I don't know who was the person who used this clothes. Maybe it will bring bad energy. Some people think about it as well. And yeah, I think the main problem is that it would be worn out, not in good conditions, and you would be spending money on something that you could acquire a new one.
Yeah. So did you had this belief when you are already like purchasing in Australia, or you didn't bother?
No, I didn't bother because what I saw in the shops like was really good. And also when I dressed the clothes, no one could tell the clothes were secondhand.
Nice. Nice. Okay. And so with that experience, you're able to create this app and is still doing on Instagram. What are some interesting stories that you had with your community?
Interesting stories. It's nice to see how people bond through Swap, even online. Uh, I believe people, they do this on Instagram as well because it's very social and they get to know others. There was one lady that she told me that she found on my first swap someone who she had studied when she was young, and the person was already living in another state in Australia.
Wow.
And also I made good friends during the pandemic. There was one of the swappers. She sent me even a treat, like an Uber Eats.
Oh,
One day,
wow.
like I made like really good friends. Like they support me. They are like ambassadors for swaps as well. Yeah, it's a very nurturing space.
It's the community that really matters the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what are some feedbacks that you're getting from your communities in terms of like the whole experience? Because I would say I think Australia is, or Australians are more open to secondhand because it has been part of their culture. But same thing with what you've experienced growing up in Brazil, and most of the Asian countries here still has that negative mindset and is not that open yet to secondhand. So, what were some of like feedbacks that you were getting in terms of like the resistance of them adopting this new way of acquiring clothes?
Uh, the resistance that I find is that most of people that I talk on Instagram, they resell clothes. So it's difficult to overcome this mindset that it's better to make money out of the clothes than swap, because they also resell. But
Right.
at the same time, it's good because they are into secondhand, so it's much easier to get them involved because they really enjoy it. Another thing is the process, like to make them understand how it works. We have to explain and to rephrase. Like every time I do a swap, I work on the copyrights, like how explaining and sometimes making videos to make the content more easy to understand and
Right.
also appealing. Yeah, these are my strategies to overcome. And in the end of the day, swap is not something new, totally new. Everyone swaps, like even before internet exists, like even before money exists, people were already swapping. It's not something that new, but for people to understand, we need to explain very well. And because there are many ways to swap as well.
Right, right. Nice. And what do you think would be that one thing, if you are based from your experience and what you have seen, what could be that one thing that would really make swapping mainstream?
I think it is scaling up, because you need options. A swap party is limited because you have just a pool of people, and tastes are different. But when you scale it up, like you have infinite options, you have an online marketplace where you can see clothes whenever you are, at your home, at work. You can have easy access, because for me sometimes it's hard to go to an op shop to
Right.
look for something what I want. When you go to an op shop, you don't know what you're gonna find. It's like lucky.
Mhm.
But if you scale up, you can like have the opportunity to search for something you like.
Mm, that is true. Agree with that. And down to my last question. What do you think is the power of swapping to you?
The power for me of swapping for me is the chance to experience new things, like new styles, because you take the that monetization
Mm,
thinking, and you just go with your guts, like, oh, I really like it, I will try it. And it happened with me swapping as well. Like when I went to the parties, I was seeing clothes that I wouldn't buy, and when I got them into my wardrobe, I was wearing them, I was super happy. And I think it's about knowing yourself and knowing your style, experiencing new things. I think this is the power of swapping.
amazing. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. I think swapping is a there's just a lot of factors where you can realize a lot of things, not just because it's fashion, but as you have mentioned, it also is empowering yourself to be more creative and to be more daring. And there's a lot of ways for you on how you can engage through swapping. So it's really good to hear your stories and how you started SwapAPorter in Australia. And we're looking forward to your launch for your mobile app.
Thank you very much, Rai.
Yes, thank you so much for your time and for all the people who have tuned in. Hopefully, this story and episode you have learned something and can relate. Let us know if you have anything else that you would want us to discuss for the future episodes. Thank you so much for the time, and we'll see you again.